Joshua chapter 12. Now these are the kings of the land which the children of Israel smote, and possessed their land on the other side Jordan toward the rising of the sun, from the river Arnon unto Mount Hermon, and all the plain on the east, Sihon king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon and ruled from Aroer, which is upon the bank of the river Arnon, and from the middle of the river, and from half Gilead, even unto the river Jabbok, which is in the border of the children of Ammon, and from the plain to the sea of Chinneroth on the east, and unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea on the east, the way to Beth Jeshmoth, and from the south under Ashdoth Pisgah, and the coast of Og, king of Bashan, which was of the remnant of the giants that dwelt at Ashtaroth and at Edrei, and reigned in Mount Hermon, and in Salcah, and in all Bashan unto the border of the Geshurites, and the Maccathites, and half Gilead, the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Them did Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel smite. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it for a possession unto the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel smote on this side Jordan on the west, from Baalgad in the valley of Lebanon, even unto Mount Halak, that goeth up to Seir, which Joshua gave unto the tribes of Israel for a possession according to their divisions, in the mountains, and in the valleys, and in the plains, and in the springs, and in the wilderness, and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, the king of Jericho one, the king of Ai, which is beside Bethel one, the king of Jerusalem one, the king of Hebron one, the king of Jarmuth one, the king of Lachish one, the king of Eglon one, the king of Gezer one, the king of Debir one, the king of Geder one, the king of Hormah one, the king of Arad one, the king of Libnah one, the king of Adullam one, the king of Makkedah one, the king of Bethel one, the king of Tappuah one, the king of Hepher one, the king of Aphek one, the king of Lasharon one, the king of Madon one, the king of Hatzor one, the king of Shemrameron one, the king of Akshaph one, the king of Tanakh one, the king of Megiddo one, the king of Kadesh one, the king of Jokneam of Carmel one, the king of Dor in the coast of Dor one, the king of the nations of Gilgal one, the king of Tirzah one. All these kings, 31. Here in the 12th chapter, we have a list of 31 kings and the cities that they were kings over. Now, some of them would have been tiny, dinky kings. The king basically was an absolute ruler. He didn't have a geographical area or a specific number of people to be a king. He was just the absolute ruler of that area. And there were 31 of them, which over a period of 7 years, we believe 7 years, that Israel conquered. Now, we also know from the chapter that's coming, chapter 13, that the Lord's talking, and in that chapter he's talking to Joshua, and he's letting him know there's a whole lot that still needs to be done. But it's a start. Again, we have Joshua, who is the righteous leader, who's going to do everything Moses told him, everything that God told him. And we have half-righteous, half-baked, half-successful group of people in the army of Israel. Now, the neat part that happened was, especially when they were dealing with those 5 kings that came out of the cave, was Joshua had these kings on the ground and told his soldiers, at least some of the soldiers, to come and put their foot on these people's necks. And in ancient times, that basically meant you were trodden underfoot. And what that was the ultimate humiliation for the king and the ultimate victory for the person who put their foot on the king's neck. And Joshua wanted that to happen so that the people who were in the army, the leaders in the army at least, would have the experience of putting their foot on the necks of 5 kings and knowing that they had defeated them, so that, and these were the kings in the south now, And so that they would know they had defeated them, and they would have a feeling of confidence. If we did this to these 5 kings, we could do it to the next 5 kings, and the next 5 kings, and the next 5 kings after them. If the Lord's going to help us fight our battles, this is how it's supposed to be. And it is amazing the number of victories that they had. You don't usually find any place, any battle, any set of battles where things go 100% your way. Invariably, you're dealing with people who want to fight back in some way, shape, or form, and these people in the north particularly did. And it said their army was as great as the sands of the sea. And they had the horses and the chariots. And the Israelites were all foot soldiers. There were, you remember the terror that was struck into the hearts of the children of Israel when Pharaoh's chariots showed up. Now, these chariots that the people of the north had huge, sharp blades on them. And they would just run right through people and chop them up. And that's why they got rid of the horses and burnt the chariots, so that these war instruments would not be available. And we see that Israel was successful. And we see that even though there was lots still to be done, that what Joshua did was he divided the land between the tribes. We'll see the next several chapters where it's outlined what it is, and I will put a link to a map so that you can sort of visualize it, because you're not going to know anything. I wouldn't know anything just from the description. These people knew where these place names were and what they meant, but they mean nothing to us. You need a map. And the thing was, even though the land was divided amongst the tribes, the land was not clear of all the people it was supposed to be clear of. And so the understanding that Joshua had, the hope that Joshua had, was that the tribes would work together to get rid of the people that were still left. That didn't happen. It was a whole lot easier to let them stay. It's sort of like, not necessarily easier, not a great comparison here, but it's sort of like saying, well, I know I've got cancer in my lung, but rather than go and have it removed, I'd just as soon not have the operation, because then you have to recover from the operation. You're in hospital for a while, that's not really any fun. And so you leave the cancer to kill you. And that's what these people did. Because they were not willing to be totally obedient to Heavenly Father, they were in essence, by not doing what they were supposed to, poisoning themselves, their grandchildren, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, until eventually the nation died. That's what's being set up here. We have some valiant effort on the part of Joshua, Moses, and the leaders. And then we have a half-baked, half-hearted effort on the part of the people. Must have been so disheartening for the leaders. Try as hard as they might. Sometimes I think Heavenly Father looks down on us and thinks, aren't these people ever going to learn? Looks down on me and says, how many times do you have to go through this kind of stupid thing? And I think it applies to all of us. It would be really great if all of us got really smart, really obedient, really valiant, and did what we were supposed to do. And then not only would the world be a better place, we'd be better off. That's what he was trying to do with Israel. They weren't listening too well.